Hey everybody, before we get into this video, we're expecting a large collection of bourbon and a lot of viewers. Thank you so much for watching. So if you could all stand up and move to your right and make room for others, that'd be great. Thank you. Now to the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon. All right, Ben.
Got a lot of bourbon here.
A lot of bourbon.
Well,
are we going to bring them all on?
We are going to bring them all on.
Or should we set the table before we set the bar?
Oh boy! Wow.
Come on, that was kind of like that was nice.
All right, we've got 7 bourbons here.
Okay, let's bring them all in and then we'll explain.
Well, you don't want to bring them in at one at a time?
Okay.
For each one?
Then
okay. So the premise of this video, before we start bringing in the contestants here, we wanted to talk about what are the best readily available and affordable bourbon options from a few different distilleries.
Yes.
Prominent distilleries or prominent brands.
Yeah, prominent brands, because sometimes there's a blurring of the lines of who the distillery is, what the label on the bottle says, and so on.
Versus the company that owns it, the umbrella company.
And so the premise is you've had some bourbon, you like a brand, you know, a flavor profile. What's the best thing I can get from that brand? And we acknowledge there's some super high price, super high proof stuff that maybe you have to go to Kentucky or maybe you have to win a lottery or
those
something.
will not be on this list.
We're not including crazy allocated stuff. This is stuff that you kind of expect at a decent liquor store, maybe every liquor store.
Sure. So this first one, we're gonna do, this is from the Umbrella Company.
Okay.
Not just this line brand of bourbons, but we've got from Jim Beam, bam, Knob Creek single barrels. So, Knob Creek single barrels come in at 120 proof. They're usually around 9, almost 10 years. There are a couple of...
$59 typically?
49 to 59 these range. I see them for both on a regular basis.
And we're in Minnesota, so who knows what, you know.
Yep, there's a good $10 swing there. A lot of bourbon forward restaurants or bars, a lot of times will have their own private barrel of this.
Yeah.
120 proof, fantastic. You know, so there's a lot of stuff that comes out of Jim Beam, a lot of different brands, but I think of all those individual brands like the Basil Hayden's and Old Grandad's, Jim Beam itself, these, this one is just in my opinion, bang for your buck, readily available, the best out of all of them.
And what I like about it is it has the age statement, either 9 or 12 year, depending on which one you get. So
they go up to 15, and you've got the 15, and I've got one over
that one
there.
gets kind of expensive.
Yeah.
But
well, no, I mean there's the 15-year store pick that sometimes get priced within that store pick.
I think that was a mistake.
Is a fluke.
but it allows you to see what age does to a bourbon. You know, if you like, you know, Knob Creek, you know, you're going to see this is what a 12-year Knob Creek is because you're going to notice the oak.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
All right,
absolutely.
contestant number 2.
All right, so this one is not just from the Umbrella Company, but the individual brand this time.
Yep.
If you like Old Forester, bam, Old Forester 1920 Prohibition style, and I love Old Forester, so I am going to rock a pour of this right now.
That's a good idea. I'm waiting for the next one.
So, 115 proof. Old Forester is one of those distilleries one of those brands that, in my opinion, just, I don't know, do they do anything wrong, really?
So I will acknowledge that this is another one that I wasn't necessarily in love with when I first tried it.
That's true.
And it's growing on me a bit. They have a particular flavor note that people refer to as banana bread. And it's hard
I was going to refer to as deliciousness.
Well, yeah, some people. But it's hard to describe what is banana bread, like how do you get that out of bourbon, but you really do get it, especially on the nose, a little bit on the...
Dark molasses.
Yeah. But what's weird is if you do a flight, it's not as easy to pick out as you would think.
Unless you are a Brown-Forman truffle pig.
And yeah,
like I am.
He works hard for that crown.
I do. But yeah, this is fantastic. Usually runs, this is maybe one of the more expensive ones on the list at that 60 to 65 range.
I think so, yeah.
Depending, but it's part of their Whiskey Row series.
And not 100% available, But a decent liquor store, you should be able to find it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not available because it's allocated or because it's impossible to find. It's just some places, whether they choose to carry it or not.
Exactly.
But yeah, usually you can find this if you look minimally.
Yep.
But yeah, outstanding, 115 proof. It's just fantastic bourbon. If you like any of the Old Forester products, the one that I would say is the outlier is the 1910 because it's double oak.
And it's a little harder to find.
And it's outstanding.
Oh, it is.
But if that's the only one you've had, don't expect the other ones to taste quite like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you're making your way up the ladder, you like the 100 proof, this is just outstanding.
Yep.
So okay, I see which one you're waiting for here.
Exactly. So the next one is a huge distillery. I think they sell a lot of.
So good. Sorry.
They sell a lot of product, right? I think by bottles they maybe are the #1 distillery.
They're not #1, but they're one of the bigger ones.
It's Maker's Mark.
It's Maker's Mark. Bam! Maker's Mark cask strength. Here,
pour that. I'm gonna do a pour of this one.
This one ranges in price around here weirdly too.
And it ranges in proof. Well, it stays at what, 116.8 or so? Is that what this one is?
A lot of them are down by the 110s actually. Maker's Mark has a lower barrel entry proof. Of I think 110 is their barrel entry proof. So a lot of times their cask strengths, I think the highest they get is up to like 116 maybe, but that's not typical.
Oh, this is 111.6.
That's usually, I think, the ones I've got back here. Yeah, these are like 111, 108. Most of them are in that range because of that low barrel entry proof. But the low barrel entry actually helps with the flavor.
It does.
Because there's less water in there. It's more, there's more water and there's less just alcohol interacting with the...
And I have a theory that nobody seems to support, that wheated whiskeys, wheated bourbons, tend to act just a little bit different with the oak. And it ages at a different rate than a high rye type bourbon.
They do seem to, yeah. I should also clarify, when I said there's more water in there at a lower entry proof, I don't know if they're distilling it to a lower, I should probably say I actually don't know that for sure.
Okay.
Some brands may be distilling at a lower proof. You can distill bourbon up to 160 proof.
Right.
And so what they distill it to is also going to affect that. And a lot of distilleries, brands just don't disclose that.
Yep.
So that could be it too. So
that's part of their secret sauce.
Correct
they don't publish.
So, all right, the next one, another one of, all of these are realistically just our favorite bourbons.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
this next one is a company called Barton.
Barton, bam, Barton 1792 full proof. 125 proof. So speaking of barrel entry proof, full proof as opposed to cask strength or barrel proof
is the maximum it can go in.
125 proof, yes, is the maximum that it can go into the barrel. But when a bourbon is full proof, it refers to that particular brand's barrel entry proof. So some full proofs could be 115,
right,
if that's what they're, like a Maker's Mark would be 110 full proof.
So is it possible this went in at 125? It came out at, let's say, 132.
Yes.
So they had to bring it back down to 125.
Yep, that's why they're all 120 proof. It's not just a barrel proof
125.
batch. Is that what I said?
You said 120.
Oh, 125, yes, sorry. This one runs around $42 consistently, at least in our area.
And very available. But we've definitely heard from fans, it's not available nationwide.
Yeah, if you're a fan of this particular brand of bourbon, you're struggling to find this in some places, but we did include it on our list. We wanted to keep these readily available. And so we did leave off some that we still can get around here, but we know people can't get.
Yeah.
For the most part,
I think that one's kind of...
Yeah, I've heard from a few places that...
I agree.
It's, I don't know. It can be hard to find in certain areas, but I think for the most part. Unless it's not. Put it in the comments. If this is not available in your area,
let us know.
We can issue a retraction and a full apology. We can wheel the apology podium out. In last week's video, we made remarks that we realize now to be false. So anyway, if you can get a hold of this.
Inconsistent with the truth.
Yes. And you like the higher proof stuff, this is just outstanding.
Really, really good.
I think
what else is outstanding?
What?
This one. This is amazing. It's been a while since I've had a wheater, I think.
Really?
Maybe not.
A cask strength wheater?
Cask strength wheater.
Yeah.
I think it's been
what I love about
days.
Maker's cask strength is like the wheaters usually give you a sweeter profile, but I always consistently get a really nice like tobacco, like pipe tobacco note off
leather,
of that.
Earthy.
Yeah.
Just
and then
really
it's got that sweet biscuits on top of it.
And almond.
Yeah. And the Old Forester is just outstanding as always. Okay, let's keep moving on down the line here.
Next up, now,
a beloved distillery.
There's no way that we can't include a Wild Turkey product in this list. We acknowledge that. However, we could become one note if we only included the same bourbon every time.
Well,
I guess, what's a better way of saying this? Everything they make is great?
Yeah. I was actually going to say,
okay,
once you said Wild Turkey, it's either going to be 101 or Rare Breed, because we always put those on the list.
We do.
And this one is, bam, Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Now, I was torn between putting this or Russell's Single Barrel.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
This one was sitting on the shelf right there, so this one ended up on the channel today. But I was going to say that as soon as you said Wild Turkey, they're going to know what it is, because if they've watched this channel before.
Or any bourbon review channel.
Yeah, you know Rare Breed's going to be on there.
Yeah.
It's outstanding. There's nothing bad you can say about it. 116.8 proof on this one. This particular
That's where
release.
116.8 came from.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, it's wonderful. What more do we need to say? Do we even need to talk about this one?
So, okay, price-wise, it's definitely going up.
It is going up. I've noticed this one, like, you used to get this consistently for 42.
Yeah.
I've seen it for in the 50s now, 55.
Yeah, I think so.
I still do see it in the 40s, though. Incidentally, as a side note, I saw Kentucky Spirit the other day for $70.
Wow.
Which is just Wild Turkey 101 Single Barrel, which is good.
It's very good.
But $70, I was blown away by that.
Yeah, that's someone fishing for a newbie.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you can't go wrong with this. But again, the Russell's Reserve Single Barrel is also a higher proof one in the...
Yep.
And that one I feel like we neglect on our lists maybe sometimes, just because we don't always have that one on hand.
Yeah.
And it's not quite as readily available as this one. I've noticed that that's kind of dried up in our area anyway. And it's making a comeback now. I've seen it at a couple places for like a year though. I just didn't see it at any of the places I normally used to see it.
Trying to think. Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell, me seeing it on the shelf.
Yep. So this one being the more readily available one. And hopefully bourbon YouTubers don't constantly talk about how great it is, and then it becomes
that would be horrible. I hate when channels do that. I think we're doing that.
Well, if you guys would subscribe and make our channel big enough that we would have an influence, we'll stop.
That's it.
As it goes right now, I think we're, I don't think anybody's running out of store shelf space because of what we're talking about. But
not yet.
It's a nice idea. All right, so the next one. We're moving.
Imagine 104 proof.
Okay.
High rye mash bill. Medium high rye, but fairly high rye. And you have 4 roses on your label. What are you going to call it?
I would call it 4 Roses, bam, small batch select.
That's a good name.
Is this going to be another one that's potentially controversial because of availability?
Who knows? I mean, I don't live everywhere. I live here. So here's what I would say. I think this came out, and for the first year, it was not available in Minnesota. A friend picked up a bottle for me. I did a review before we had a channel, so it's quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And this came in as my number 2 for the year. Like, I love this bourbon. And
so this one, like you said, it was not available in Minnesota. Greg, you were much more of a 4 Roses fan long before I was. I wasn't really into them at first.
But it's only because of that one. Their other stuff is a little bit more high rye.
Well, they're all high rye, but yet this one is just 104 proof. This is a mixture, I think, of a few of their different recipes. We won't get into it because that's a whole...
They have different mash bills, they have different yeast strains, and it gets confusing.
Yeah.
It's actually really interesting if you want to look into it.
But I remember I was down in Florida one time before I knew anything about this brand, and I sent you a picture because I knew there was some 4 Roses products that were a little bit more rare or weren't available in Minnesota.
Sure.
And I thought one of them was this because we had a pour of this at your house one night.
Okay.
It's probably like bourbon number 15 that night, so it's a little fuzzy on which one it was, but I was pretty sure it was this, and I remember it was one of your favorites. So I took a picture of it, and I sent it to you, and I said, hey, is this hard to find in Minnesota? And you said, no, you can get that pretty much anywhere. And then like 2 days later or whatever, when I got back from the trip, you're like, oh, sorry, I thought that was the regular small batch. All right, missed out on that bottle.
Missed out on it. But now it is available at least in Minnesota.
Yeah, so I think this one is readily available enough.
It's $60. And, well, we don't need... So a local liquor store mispriced this. They published the wrong price in an advertisement. So they had to honor that sales price.
Yeah, so this backup bottle, I paid, what was it, $31 for?
I think so. And then I...
Got Greg a bottle.
Amazing when that happens. But
Yeah,
that doesn't happen very often.
Probably should have bought 15 bottles of it, but as much as I want to get a bunch of these, there are other bourbons to buy.
Yeah.
So, all right, this last one, I think is going to be the most interesting pick out of all of these.
Because it's maybe not so much the individual bottle, but more like the category or what it represents.
Well, I think once we bring this bottle out, you're going to look at all of these and go, one of these is not like the others.
Oh,
You know?
I don't know. He's lost me.
We had to get something on here from Heaven Hill,
But
we wanted readily available. And Heaven Hill is becoming kind of one of those distilleries where stuff is just not readily available.
So Heaven Hill is famous for things like Elijah Craig, small batch, or Elijah Craig
Barrel proof.
Barrel proof.
Larceny barrel proof.
But they're getting kind of too expensive
They are.
to recommend. They're
And-
great, but hard to recommend.
Well, we can get them fairly easily in Minnesota. Every
But
time
we-
a batch comes out, I see one.
But we know that a lot of other places don't see them at all.
Right, so we didn't, that would maybe be the more appropriate one to include if you look at
Yep.
what's going on this table.
Right.
Henry McKenna 10-year is another great one, but unfortunately it's just not available anymore. And when it is, I saw a store charging $90 freaking dollars for it the other day.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I didn't buy any whiskey from them.
Well, that store owner had to, make a boat payment.
Right, yeah, exactly. So what we have from Heaven Hill, we've got, bam, we've got Evan Williams Bottled in Bond.
Which is freaking amazing, by the way. It looks like a bottom shelf bourbon, maybe not.
Well, it is a
but
bottom shelf bourbon,
one shelf
but it's
up.
good.
This tends to be, well, this is a liter, right?
Yeah. So now are you seeing that one of these is not like the other in the
But
sense
it's
that
still
for a
it's-
$7.50 this is $15 and it's 100 proof and it's available everywhere?
$20 or
Well,
so.
these are all available
Yeah.
everywhere too, I suppose. But
100 proof. It is bottom bond. But I think it punches way above its weight. I think it really does compete. If we did a blind flight, which it's a school night, so we can't drink 7 bourbons or
Sure.
I don't know how many are on the bar at the moment. I don't think this would come in last place. Definitely not for me.
you don't think so? Well, for you it might not. I think the only thing that would hamstring it would be the proof.
It's 100 though. This is 104.
Yeah, but the rest of these are all,
100.
100. No, this is 120,
Oh,
125, 116, 115. What was this?
111.
108.
11.
111. Yeah, so I think the proof would be a little.
Yeah.
I think the point that I'm making is it would be unfair to the Evan Williams. I think.
I think it could handle
But
it.
I think
this
if
is Rocky at the beginning of Rocky 4. You're
at the beginning of Rocky
At the
4,
beginning
or
of
when
Rocky
he's
4.
training to fight
No.
Ivan Drago.
No, he hasn't even begun to fight yet.
Okay.
So, or maybe in round 2 when he just got knocked down again by Ivan Drago. But then, and he's a machine of Ivan Drago. But then by the time, what was it, like round 7 or so?
The machine of Ivan Drago.
No, like he says, I can't knock him down. Like he's a machine. Like when Rocky's
is that
discouraged.
at the beginning of Rocky 4?
No, when they're fighting.
Okay.
Like round 2. Like Drago is just beating the heck out of Rocky.
Yeah.
And he's a machine. But then by round 6, 7 or whenever it is, when the fight turns, then Drago's saying, he's a machine. Like I just knock him down and he gets right back up.
I'm just picturing
I've not seen this movie in 20
Yeah, I don't know if that's
years.
well, it's probably a fairly. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
knows that you're really good with movies.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm known for.
I'm just picturing we're doing a blind flight, like a flight fight of these, and you can tell that the Evan Williams is coming in a little flat on the proof point. And I'm just picturing you like Rocky's coach, get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves ya.
Get up, you son of a bitch! Because Mickey loves you.
That would be a great way to sniff the bourbon.
Just
Yeah.
did Mickey ever sniff Rocky in the?
No, there's a point when you're no longer talking about the movie and you're talking about the bourbon.
Oh, okay, we've crossed that bridge. Okay. I was still talking about the bourbon at that point. So anyway, I don't know if anybody's still watching us talk about
this is
bourbon at this
awesome.
point,
Yeah.
but let us know what you think. As far as, like we said at the beginning, we want to keep these available. We know that there's Booker's, we know that there's birthday bourbon, and there's all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, totally.
But for the most part, these are readily available in most areas. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think. And yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to check out our Patreon or our merch store, there are links in the channel description down there. I'm assuming it's down there from how you're viewing this.
Or there.
Or yeah, they're up, you know, who knows what kind of crazy device they might have. But anyway, check those things out, please, if you're interested. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Till next time. See you next time.